Hey guys, Mr. Farmer here. Today we are covering Chapter 20, Advanced Selection Sets. This is building on Chapter 4. Chapter 4 we talked about how to select objects before you use a command. We talked about noun verbs and verb nouns, that kind of thing. So Chapter 20 is just building on that and taking it to the next level. Advanced Selection Sets. So we've got 5 objectives here. Number 1, be able to control the system variables that affect object selection. Number 2, be able to use the tools to enhance object selection, such as select similar, hide objects, isolate objects. Number 3, be able to use quick select. Number 4, be able to use object selection filters. And number 5, be able to create name selection sets or object groups. So let's just dive right in. When you select objects, you determine which objects in the drawing are affected by the subsequent editing action by specifying a selection set. You can select the set of objects in several ways. So if you think back to Chapter 4, this is as simple as you're taking this pick box here and you're saying, I want to take this and this and this and then perform some kind of a command. So say move, right? And I want to move these things. That is a selection set. It applies to the things I have selected. So there's a lot of variables that you can use here that have different effects on this. So let's start with pick box. You'll notice that this pick box right here, that little bitty box, is tiny. It's 3 pixels. So if you don't like that, you can actually change it. I could make it smaller. Now it's 1 pixel, right? Or pick box, I could make it larger. I could make it 15. Wow, there's a big box right there. I like to make mine a little bit larger so it's easier to see, so I'll set it as 10. Now, if you struggle with picking the right thing, you can make it smaller to make it a little bit more accurate. Okay, pick first. Pick first is a command that controls whether you can select objects before you issue a command, like noun verb, or whether it has to be the other way around, the command and then the object, which is verb noun. So right now, pick first is set to 1, which means it's on. That means that I can pick an object and then I can perform a command, right? That is noun verb, right? But if pick first was turned off, let's see here. If pick first was turned off, if it was 0, then if I pick this line and then I try to perform some kind of command, notice it's going to make me pick it again, because now the only thing that's allowed is verb noun, right? And there's times to use both of those selections. I'll keep this as 1 for now. Okay, pick add. Pick add is another function. It determines whether selected objects are added to or whether they replace the current set. So right now, if I click this line and this circle, they all add together, right? One builds on the other one. If I hold down the Shift key and click something, it takes that selection away, right? So if I selected all of these and then I held down the Shift key, I could take little pieces of this away by holding down the Shift key. If pick add is set to 0, if it's off, if I click this and then I try to click something else, I lose that first selection. Whatever I click replaces the next item, right? So that is pick add. The default value is 2 there. There's also pick style. You can type pick style, right? Pick style is set to 0. That determines if all objects in a group are selected when you select one object in that group. We'll get we'll talk more on groups here in just a little bit. A quick shortcut for pick style is Control H. Control H as in hotel. Just something you can use. There's also pick auto, which determines how clicking or dragging the control windows and lassos works. And there's also pick drag. Pick drag is another system variable that you can use. So you can type these things in, like pick auto, and then you can change the variable. Or if that's a little confusing for you, you can just go to the options menu. So this is the options menu, and go to selection, and here's everything we just talked about. These are all of the different things you can do. You can change your pick box, you can change your grip size, you can change what happens with object grouping, whether you can use Shift to add to selections, whatever you want to do. Just make sure to click Apply before you leave this box. That is the Options box Selection tab. Very good. Okay. We talked about pick first. We talked about noun verbs. Let's see here. Pick add, pick auto, select all. Okay, here's a really handy tool. If I want to select everything on this drawing, I can say select all. Oh, hang on. I can say select all, and it selects everything on the page. with a caveat. Okay, if you use select all, it does not select objects that are on layers which are frozen. If you freeze a layer, it will not select items on that layer. But it will select objects on layers that are off. So all of your layers are up here, right? If I freeze one of these, right? If I freeze one of these layers and then I use select all, then it's not going to select those pieces. But if I just turn one of the layers off, it will select those pieces. I'm not going to go into that right now. It's going to take too much time. If you have questions about that, let me know. It's also on page 493 of your book. That is select all. Okay. Let's see here. Select similar. This is a really cool function. So select similar allows you to automatically select objects that are similar based on the object type, such as a line or a circle, and have the same properties such as layer and color. So this is kind of neat. Let's say I wanted to select all of the hidden lines in this drawing because I want to change the color, right? I could say select similar, right? And then I could click, I don't know, a hidden line here. Click, hit enter, and now all of the hidden lines are selected. So I could go to properties, and I could change the color of those lines. I could make all of my hidden lines now blue. You can see how that would save a lot of time. I could also, I could say select similar, and I could select everything that is a circle, right? Now all of my circles are selected. I could change the color. I could change the style of these circles. I could change the layer that they're on, the line type, all kinds of good stuff. So that's select similar. That's a really, really handy tool, select similar. I think I lost a window there. That's okay. Let's see, hide objects. There's hide objects. I can select objects to hide from my view. That's handy, hide objects. Well, what happens when you want to bring them back? Well, then you can use, well, I'm going to come back to that. You can also use isolate objects, right? That's isolate, click, 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 hit enter, and then it's kind of the backwards, or the reverse of hide. Isolate objects means that everything you didn't select goes away. So hide objects hides what you select. Isolate objects hides everything that you didn't select. So handy tools. Let's do isolate objects, or no, let's do hide objects, and I'm going to hide this outline right here. This is where the big pick box comes in handy. Good. Hide objects. I'm going to hide those objects, right? If I want to get them back, there's an unisolate objects command, and it will bring them back. That works for hiding. It also works for isolating. Unisolated makes all objects visible again that were temporarily hidden from view by either the hide objects command or the isolate objects command. Good. There's also quick select. Q select. Quick select. You can create parameters that you can use to select things. So I could say apply to the entire drawing. This applies to circles, which are on layer, center layer, right? And I could hit OK, and that would select everything that's in these parameters. That's quick select. Quick select, you can create a selection set of all objects that either match or do not match the object type or object property that you're working with. How are we doing on time? We're doing pretty good. Okay. All right, let's talk about filter. Filter command. Filter command is kind of like quick select. You can create parameters here. So let's say I want to select everything that is let's see here. Let's see. I want to select everything that is a circle, right? And I'm going to name this as select circles, right? And good. And then I can apply things in here with certain parameters, right? So if the object is a circle, right? And you can specify different things within there. This is a little less easy to use than quick select, but just know that filters is an option here that you can use. You can add certain parameters to your list. You can add certain colors. You can add images, leader lines, layers, polylines. If I wanted to select certain polylines, I could do that. And then this saves your selections, so you can save them to use for later. Like you could save this as polyline selects. That is the filters command. The vocab word you need to know is filters. It's a more advanced version of quick select. Here you can specify multiple selection criteria and save a criteria set under a name that you assign for use at a later time. You can also use the filter during a command, right? So if I've got the circle command open and I'm drawing circles, so I'm still working with this, I can still use filter while I'm working, right? Let's say I'm moving this object. I can use filter while I'm doing that, and I can apply a certain filter if I want to. Just know that it's a transparent command. Good. Okay, let's talk about groups. So I've got a drawing of a little efficiency apartment here. This is one you're familiar with. I think you had to do this exercise. And notice that everything right now is separate lines. These are all separate entities. So let's say I wanted to select, this looks like a kitchen sink, right? I want to select this kitchen sink. Well, it's made up of like all these different lines, and I don't want to go to the trouble of clicking all these lines, right? Because that would take forever. So what I can do is I can assign all of this to a group, G-R-O-U-P, group, right? And then down here I can put a name or a description, so I'll name it, N for name, and I'm going to call this main sink. Good. And then I can select objects in the set. I can use a window select, I can use a crossing window, I can pick them one at a time. I'm just going to use a window here. I'm going to draw. Good. And then I'm going to add this. Yep, and that's my sink. I'm going to hit enter. Now that is a group. So if I roll my mouse over it, it is a group. I can select the whole thing. So when I'm doing my selections, right, quick select, select similar, anything like that, I can select this whole thing as a group. Okay, a group is a set of objects that has an assigned name and description. The group command allows you to determine the objects you want to include in your group. Let's see here. Once a group is created, it's assigned as selectable status by default. That means I can select it. If there were more than one, if there was more than one sink in this drawing, right, and I use select similar, it would select all of those sinks, those groups, right? Let's see here. If the group is assigned as non-selectable, however, the group cannot be selected as a whole by any method. Non-selectability prevents accidentally copying the entire group, which could really mess you up. There's also group edit. So group edit is another command, right? Group edit. It allows you to add, remove members, or rename the group. So I'm going to select this sink here, right? I'm using group edit, and I can add objects, remove objects, I can rename it. Let's say I want to remove this middle piece here. That's no longer a part of the group. Good. So now when I select the group, let's say I want to stretch this drawing, that piece right there is no longer a part of the group. So I've selected the entire group. I'm sorry, move. Here we go. I've selected this entire group, select objects, and let's say I want to move this sink over here in front of the refrigerator. Well, now that's no longer part of the group, right? So that is group select and group edit. And I think that's all we're going to get into here. Yes. All right, so your exercises this week, you're going to be using different selection sets to accomplish different tasks. You're going to use noun, verb, and verb, noun. If you have questions, feel free to email me. And as always, thanks for watching.